So part 2 of section 7.2 is going to be solely focused on circles, but before we get to that, we're going to talk about a little vocabulary word called eccentricity. And so what eccentricity is really helps describe how stretched the ellipse is. We have an actual formula for this eccentricity value. Basically, you just find your c value, which we use that formula. Remember, c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So we first find the c value, and then once we find c, we take that value divided by a. And as it approaches 1, in fact, any value between 0 and 1 is going to give an ellipse, and anything bigger than that might yield a different conic section that we'll see later in this chapter. In fact, if you wanted to check out sort of what that effect has on the ellipse shape itself, you can take a look at it in the Chapter 7 module. I have a little eccentricity applet on Desmos that you can check out on your own, and you can drag the sliders to see what the eccentricity value looks like as compared to what the graph looks like and how stretched out it is. But for these practice problems, we're just going to solely find that eccentricity value, because that is one way you can tell what type of conic it is from the eccentricity value itself. So first example, it says determine the eccentricity of this ellipse given. So if it's not in standard form, you might have to put it in standard form first. But remember, eccentricity is your c value over your a value. A is always the biggest value here. So notice a is going to be, looks like the square root of that ends up being 8. So we have a. Your b value ends up being 6, the square root of 36 there. Because to find c, we're going to need a and b. And so if we use this formula to find c, c squared is going to equal the difference of those two squareds, so 64 minus 16. And so it looks like we get c squared equals 48. And so if I take the square root of that, c ends up being the square root of 48. And so if I plug it into my formula, it's c over a, so it's going to be the square root of 48 divided by my a value, which is 8. And if you do that on your calculator, we get a value of 0.866. And so that would be my eccentricity value for this ellipse. So quickly see if you can try one of these on your own, and we'll go over this in a few seconds. So a value ends up being not a nice number, but we can keep it as the square root of 40. So let's keep that in the back of our mind. To find c value, you have to take the difference of your a squared minus your b squared here. So in that case, it's going to be 40 minus 12. And so if I do that, looks like c is going to be the square root of 28. And so remember, to find eccentricity, it's c over a, so it ends up being the square root of 28 over the square root of 40. And we like these as decimal answers, so if we get the square root of 28 and divide that by the square root of 40, it looks like we get a c value of 0.837. So there's my eccentricity for this ellipse. All right, so for the main focus today is really looking at circles in the standard form of a circle with any given center. So if we're given a circle, what the standard form looks like is similar to ellipse. You're going to have the difference x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. But for a circle, it actually equals the radius of the circle squared. So with these ones, it's never going to be equal to 1. We usually encourage you to write it equal to a number here. And so this will be standard form, where our center is again at h comma k. So you can identify that right away, and then really your radius is going to be defined as that r value. So you have to take the square root of that constant term that it's equal to really determine the radius and to graph some of these. So it says write the equation of a circle given the center and the radius, and then graph it. And so if we know our main standard form of a circle, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. If I sub in my h and k, it's going to be x minus 3 squared plus y minus a negative 7, which would be plus 7 inside squared, and it's going to equal to the radius squared, which in this case would be 25. So this is what the equation would look like with that information. And if I graph it, circles are probably one of the easier conics to graph because the center's at 3, 7. So I'm going to mark out that point. Here's the center. And then when you're graphing circles, really from the center, whatever the radius is, I'm going to add 5 to the right of it, put a point, add 5 above it, put a point, add 5 to the left of it, put a point, and add 5 below it, and do the best you can with sketching your circle that goes between those. There is not a major or minor axes with these, and there's no foci points with circles, and so as far as graphing, that's it. Plot the center and put those 4 main points around for the radius and connect it with a nice looking circle. So let's take a look at this one. And so it says write the equation of a circle centered at -1, 2. So if I follow my formula, it's going to be x minus a -1. So it'll be plus 1 squared in parentheses plus, and it's going to be y minus the y coordinate. So y minus 2 squared, and it's going to equal 3 squared, which is 9. And so if I were to graph this, -1, positive 2 is right there. There's where my center is. From the center, I would add 3 in every direction and plot a point. And then from there, draw the rough shape of what my circle looks like. And there we go. So the last part of this is just determining the types of the conics, looking at the non-standard form. But really to determine the type is it's expected that you get it in standard form, and then from the standard form, can you identify what type of conic it is. But there's some hints that we can look at when it's not in standard form. In fact, the only way you can figure out if it's a parabola is if you only have one squared term only. So if you see just a x squared and there is no other y squared, but you see some y terms, something like this, since it's just involving one squared term only, either x or y, that's going to be considered a parabola. If it's an ellipse, you're going to have 2 squared terms, so you will see an x squared and a y squared, but one of the variables is going to have a coefficient and the other one won't. And so for an ellipse, you need both squared terms, and then one of them is going to have a bigger different coefficient than the other, and it's going to be, both of them have to be positive for it to be an ellipse. So that's something to look for because we look at hyperbolas later in chapter 7. And so both we have squared terms, both are positive, one has a bigger coefficient. That's how we tell right away that's an ellipse. And of course, if you put it in standard form, it has to equal 1. So that's a good way to tell as well. For circles, you have to both have squared terms, but the coefficients are the same. And so if you see that both of them are squared term and both have our coefficients of 1 in front, then that would be an example of a circle. If you see that both the coefficients are, again, the same with same value, so 2 and 2 there, again, it would have to be a circle. Only time it's an ellipse is when the coefficients are different. So if we take a look at something that's in non-standard form and just quickly identifying the type of conic before we actually put it in standard form, to me, I see that we have both squared terms, and so it's got to be either an ellipse or a circle, but since they have the same coefficient, right away I can tell that this is going to be a circle. And so if I wanted to put it into standard form of a circle, you still have to complete the square twice. So this happens to be where we'd have to add 6 to the other side, group the x's together, and so the left side is going to read as x squared plus 2x plus y squared minus 6y, and then I'm going to add the 6 to the other side, and then you're going to be completing the square twice. And so there's no coefficients in front, so we can just group that first part in parentheses with a little blank space for completing the square part, and then we're going to group those other two in parentheses with a little blank space to show that we're completing the square. And so if I complete the square here, dividing that coefficient by 1 or by 2, it gives me 1. And if I square that, it's still 1. So I'm adding 1 to one side, and then dividing that middle term by 2 and squaring it gives you positive 9. So I'm going to add positive 9 to the other side as well. So this ends up being x plus 1 squared in parentheses, and then this term Second term ends up being y minus 3 in parentheses squared. And then if I add those numbers up, it ends up equals 16. And remember, for circles, we want to stop right there. But for an ellipses, if this was our setup, then we want to divide by 16 to each side. But since this is a circle, we want to equal to the radius squared, where now you can identify the center looks to be at -1, 3, and then the radius is the square root of 16, which would be 4. So if you take a look at this one, just kind of quickly glancing at it in non-standard form, right away I see that there's two squared terms and they're different coefficients. So automatically this is going to be an ellipse. So knowing that it's an ellipse, if I put it in standard form, again adding that 32 to the other side, there is no other x's, so I'm just going to keep it as, well, you can even call it 0x if you want, but grouping the y's together and then adding that 32 over. So I'm going to complete the square, but remember before you do that you got to factor out a 9 there. And so when you're completing the square with no other x's in there, it's just going to be x minus 0 in parentheses squared, so that one's an easy part there for that term. But for here I got to factor out a 4 first. And if I complete the square for the second term here, dividing that coefficient by 2, so the middle b value of 2, divide that by 2 is 1, squaring it's 1, but remember you're adding 4 times 1 to the other side, so I'm going to be adding 4. And so the first part is 9, and then x minus 0 squared plus 4, then the second term would become y plus 1 squared, and it's going to equal 36. And remember, for an ellipse, we want to make it equal 1, so we have to divide 36 by each side and reduce those coefficients. So final answer, 9 over 36 would be x over 4, or sorry, 1 over 4, so it would be x minus 0 over 4 plus 4 over 36 becomes y plus 1 over 9, and it's going to equal 1. And so this would be the standard form then of that ellipse. So see if you can identify this one on your own. There's a hint here, there's only one squared term, so right away you should be able to figure out what type of conic it is. You may have to dive into some previous lessons to figure out what the standard form is of this conic, but once you identify it, put it in a standard form, and we'll go over this here in a few seconds. So good luck. So some of you guys recognize right away that since we only had one squared term, and there's one only, this one's definitely going to be a parabola. And so with parabolas, remember you're only completing the square once. And so if you remember a little bit about parabolas, this is when we'd actually get the y term and the constant term on the other side. And you're only going to be completing the square for the x terms here. And so the left side, x squared plus 4x plus, I'm going to keep a little blank there for completing the square. But the right side, I would add 4y and subtract 16. And so remember, if you complete the square, divide this by 2 and square it. Looks like it ends up being 4 as well. So I'm going to add 4 to the other side with that negative 16. The left side becomes x plus 2 squared in parentheses. And the right side with these, remember, that simplifies to y minus 12. But we like that right side to be a single variable of y, so we factor out a 4. And you're left with y minus 3 inside, where you can identify in this case the vertex of the parabola, which would be at -2, +3. Remember that coefficient in front tells you what the focal length is. So the focal length here ends up being 1, and that's going to be the distance from the vertex to the focus point, as well as the distance from the vertex to the directrix line. Since it's x squared, you know that it's going to be, and since it's a positive focal length, then it's definitely going to be a parabola that's sort of pointed upwards there. And so we can get a good idea of what this graph looks like just from that standard form. So for your homework is to really finish the rest of the problems in 7.2 today. So you can take a look at, this is in addition to, if you remember, the 1 through 11 odd from day 1. This is going to continue those problems down below from day 2, so you'll see bits and pieces about identifying conics as well as putting circles into standard form and graphing circles, so some of the problems are pretty quick today. But good luck practicing and enjoy the rest of your day.